Hey there, senior living professionals. This is Kathy Perry, corporate energy expert, helping you and your teams power up. And in this session, I'm going to talk about ways to avoid stress at work. And you might be saying, Kathy, how could I possibly avoid stress at work? My job is stressful. There's retention issues, there's workforce issues, there's census issues, there's just my to-do list. The whole thing stresses me out. I know. But stay till the end. I'm going to give my favorite quote on how that you might put on your desk, or just as a reminder of this video, of how you might think about stress and these situations when it comes to stress at work. Well, I want to take you back to a time when I was really stressed out, and that's when I was raising my 4 young children. I had 4 children in 7 years. And if you are a parent, there is stress that comes along with that very important job. Well, I will never forget, I had a friend and we were discussing this, and she was raising her family as well. And she said, Kathy, I've realized all this stress is just about setting proper expectations. And that was the first time anyone had put it to me like that. See, I had all these plans for all these things I was going to get done during the day, and these great activities I would do with the kids, and you get one crabby kid teething and your day's shot. Well, you might look at that in your own situation now. You get one call off and your day's shot, because all of a sudden you're scrambling. Either you're going to fill in, you're going to have someone to stay over, and you feel that stress level rise. Well, what are some things that you could do to set the expectations so those stressful situations don't get you so frantic and freaked out? Now, one thing you might be saying is she asking me to lower my expectations? No, I don't want you going through your professional development and career thinking, I'm not going to succeed unless I lower my expectations. Absolutely the opposite. Your expectations for how you perform, that's to be covered in a different video. But expectations for your day and some of the interruptions that might cause stress are what I want to address. So having a plan for these events that might come into your day is really the first step. And in order to formulate that plan to help you reduce stress throughout your day, you're going to have to figure out what are the situations that cause the most stress. Go ahead, make a list of those things. What are they? I mentioned one, a call off, or your team's not covered, or your residents are, something is affecting them. Maybe you've got a power outage or something to plan for. The list could be really long, right? If you think about all the things that can enter stress, but that's your first step. Just start looking at those things and events and people and situations that cause you the most stress. And by the way, I have another video all about stress triggers that might help you figure out that list a little bit better. So then, after you have the list formulated, now it's time for those Plan B tactics. What are some of the things that you could do in advance to plan better for those stress-filled events? I'm going to give you an example of an interaction with a person, because some of us get triggered by other people, and that can be a stress-filled situation. So say there's one person on your team, maybe, she's always causing a disruption and it stresses you out, or maybe it's a situation with your superior and you've got to address it and it's stressing you out. Think about tactics to use with people. And I think one of the very best tactics to kind of diffuse a stressful situation is to enter into it with a mindset of exploration. And by that I mean just ask some questions. Often we elevate these situations by thinking we have it all figured out, or we know exactly why she's calling up, and this is the 6th time this quarter, and you're just mad. Or maybe you think, my superior, she doesn't see exactly what I'm doing, and she doesn't get it, and she doesn't understand. So you go into that meeting feeling stressed out. Instead, go in with this exploratory mindset, this mindset that you're going to ask some questions to figure it out. This will help diffuse your stress. It will help diffuse the stress of the situation just by thinking, what are some of those questions? So after you have figured out what are some of those stress-filled situations and the things that you react to, then start thinking, how can I enter into those situations with a plan B that includes being open to some of the other scenarios? I know it sounds kind of out there and it might take some time, but changing that shifted mindset to this thing is going to stress me out, I know it, to how can I ask some questions? How can I find out ways to diffuse either attitudes or situations? So that's the next step. And then the third step is start to communicate these plans to your teams or to the people who are part of these stress-filled events. Say, hey, the next time this thing happens, instead of us all going hair on fire wild, why don't we use this plan? And I know some of you are great at this. You have contingency plans for a lot, but I'm asking you to make a contingency plan for your stress level. And then the next step in that, so after you've kind of discussed and communicated, is after the event happens, really assess how you did. How did you do with your stress during that event? What one thing could you change just a little bit next time so you don't feel so stressed out by it? You know, would it be to wait 5 minutes before making the phone call and breathe deep? Would it be to send an email to a mentor or colleague saying, how would you handle this situation? So assess after the event and see, next time I think I could do better this way. We're not great at assessing ourselves, especially during stressful situations, but often after the event, we can look at it with, hindsight being 20/20 and say, I could have done a little better there. Or next time I'm going to do a little better there. I have a situation that presents itself somewhat often with a family member, and I know when that particular person is stressed out, their stress can filter onto me. So I've learned just to let them talk, let them go, let them express themselves. Because then I don't feel like I've got to solve their problem. I don't feel like I've got to stress out by their problem. And then I just say, yeah, I hear you. I understand you. Let's circle back in the morning and talk about it a little bit more, allowing their stress to diffuse. That's one tactic I've used in looking back on a situation that I had to deal with often. So I hope those tips kind of helped you understand how you can diffuse the stress before it happens. Make that list, figure out how you're going to react, making those plan B contingencies, then communicating that, and finally reviewing it. Now, I promised you my favorite quote, okay? And this is just one that I've come up with, and it's managing expectations and making sure they're realistic will always help decrease stress. So I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you set some expectations today, gives you a little energy to move forward. This is Kathy Perry, corporate energy expert, helping you and your teams power up. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel, give lots of tips and tactics, even some tools that you can use at your next team meeting to help diffuse that stress.